Hey everyone, this is Patrick, and it is time for another edition of Heavy Therapy. This is my top 10 favorite metal albums of 2024. If you watched my part 1 and part 2 and part 3, you know that I put together a top 40 list, so the links will be in the description. But this is it, right? This is my, ostensibly, my top 10 favorite albums of 2024. And as I go through them, I will discuss sort of my thought process, how they moved throughout the year, and so forth. So, let's begin. Haven't seen this one on too many lists. It stayed with me the entire year. This is Aara with Homicide. This is their second sophomore LP on $20 spin. This band is from Vancouver, British Columbia. Modern death metal, sounds futuristic, down-tuned guitars, dissonant, cool effects on both the vocals and guitars throughout the album. That has been polarizing, it seems. Great vocal performance by Jordan. That all this guitar noise comes from one guitarist. His name is David. Is amazing. Cool conceptual thematic album. They explore a sort of metaphysical idealism, also some Eastern philosophy, but in a very sort of dark way. Favorite songs are number 2, Hell Simulation, and number 3, Salted to Abraxas. I wanted to say, sorry, yeah, Salted and Stygia. I also do love Inward to Abraxas. But yeah, just overall, a really great listen. Not too many bands that sound like this, according in my opinion, and that has made it. I listened to this a lot throughout this year. Loved it when I got it. Love it now. Aara. They combine brutal death metal, technical death metal, and into a very cool sound. Love this band. Love this album. Aara Homicide is my number 10 metal album of 2024. Number 9, and here's where some of my I surprised myself here. So, the more I went back to this album, the more I found that it's like technically perfect. It is exactly the culmination of this band's sound. It probably is their best album, but it fell for me. So here is Ulcerate, Cutting the Throat of God. 7 tracks, 58 minutes of music out on Debbie Morty Productions. And yeah, band's from New Zealand, been around since 2002. This is their 7th LP. And like I said, it probably is their best LP, but that's arguable because all 7 of their LPs sound quite similar, though their last few, they've gotten more melodic, less dissonant, but same vocal style, same overall suffocating atmosphere. Great drumming from Jamie St. Morant. So, yeah, for fans of Gorguts, Immolation, Blut aus Nord, Imperial Triumphant, but the main subgenre here is dissonant death metal, one of the best to do it. I think the second to last track, so track 6, Undying as an Apparition, a little bit too long. It has a really great chance to end around the 6:30 mark. Its listenability and replay value, its listenability is quite high. It's not a tough listen if you're really into this style of death metal. But yeah, I just kept falling the more I listened to it. I don't know where the band can go from here. This is basically the peak of their sound. I really don't know where they go from here without sounding really different. Or just, yeah, even just more derivative of what they've done already. So, great album. I gave it a 10 on my first few listens, and then it kept falling. And that's kind of a theme for my top 10 is I basically ended up having no 10 out of 10s, which is not true. No 10 out of 10s that stayed 10 out of 10s, unlike last year. So these were really hard to sort of organize because the more I listened, the more they kind of kept reversing, ping-ponging back into different spots that were held by the other albums of the top 10. But that's because, again, I don't think any of these albums are perfect. They're all around 9 to 9.5, though closer to 9s, and that's why they were hard to organize. Which brings me to number 8. This is becoming controversial in the underground in the metal scene. It looks like either you think it's the best album of all time. I have a friend who literally thinks it's like the greatest metal album ever recorded. Two, it's pure shit. You gave up on them after their first album. Two, somewhere in the middle, obviously, is where probably most people really truly are. But I'm talking about Blood Incantation's Absolute Elsewhere. So I give it this again. When I first heard it, it was a 10 out of 10. The second time, it was a 10 out of 10. Every time after that, I kept wobbling back and forth, finding things I didn't quite like on it. It's an easy listen for being just 2 tracks, 43 minutes of music out on Century Media. This is their third LP. They've been around. They're a band from Denver. They've been around since 2011. Very killer artwork. You have to give it that. But combines 90s era Morbid Angel with Pink Floyd and Tangerine Dream. So there you go. Gonna be controversial. Yeah, I kept finding myself, the more sort of Pink Floyd progressive rock moments were they started to sound more and more silly to me. Bongo sounding silly to me. And the death metal parts aren't outstanding either. So truth is, this might even fall further, which is surprising to myself because I did think it was a flawless album. Star Spawn is my favorite Blood Incantation album, and it remains to be. I do like this. I'm not saying it's trash, and it's in my top 10, though it probably will fall somewhere, in the 11 to 20 range, the more I listen to all of these albums, because this does keep falling. Cool band, Love. I saw them live before Immolation earlier in 2024, and they were amazing live. Yeah. So, big fan of this band still, but I really do think this has become, this is just where it is right now. Number 8, it's definitely, I would be surprised if it goes higher. And this is where I have it right now. Blood Incantation, Absolute Elsewhere, progressive death metal that brings in, again, progressive rock influence and some sort of kraut rock German Tangerine Dream influence as well. It even features Tangerine Dream member on the album. Okay, number 7 is a band from Quebec, Canada. This is Spectral Wound with Songs of Blood and Mire, 7 tracks, 43 minutes, out on Profound Lore. This is their 4th LP, 5 members, including their newest guitarist, AA, on here. Icy raw black metal. They sound like Zargeist from Finland. Not a lot of ingredients on this. It's, pretty raw, though not. If you're really into super raw black metal, you won't hear this as extremely raw, but this is raw to the average listener, and it's pretty close in terms of production style as well. Can't hear the drums very much. This is riffy, fun, punk influenced black metal. I like this. The subtle tension and dynamics of the tremolo guitars work so well on this. There's dueling tremolo at times. In fact, the first song, "Fevers and Suffering," is where that is featured a lot on this album. Every time these songs transition to another part, I like what comes next, and that is always a sign of you're holding my interest. There's not a lot of ingredients on this, and every time they change, I like the riff, I like the atmosphere, I like the drum fill. So, awesome vocal performance here from Jonah, one of my favorites of the year. Good black metal from Quebec, Canada. Spectral Wound with Songs of Blood and Mire is my number 7 album of 2024. Okay. Almost in our top 5, but not yet. And this is an album that might have the opposite trajectory than Blood Incantation. Aara with Eiger, 2018 band. They've been busy. This is their 6th full-length album, and they are from Bern, Switzerland. Atmospheric and riffy black metal, tremolo riff heavy. I love tremolo riffs, of course I do, but I just mean that tends to be just, if you nail tremolo riffs on your album, I'm going to be drawn to them. They're memorable, they're emotional, how they, the speed and the inflection, it's just, there's something to tremolos. Crazy double bass kicks, shrieking pain, in misery vocals here. This is a concept album based on this sort of a mountain of the same name as the album in the Bernese Alps. 64 climbers since 1935 died trying to peak this mountain, but this is about a particular time in a certain climb where a number of climbers died at the same time, and it was a big deal in Switzerland. And this is sort of freezing, memorializing for the record books in music form that situation. Tracks 3, 4, and 5 are some of the most different material that you get to date from Aara. Not very strong album. It's hard to see how this band will top what they've done. I feel that way every time, but I also know that they will. So yeah, I'm all on board with Aara. Amazing black metal. Just even if you like post, a little bit of post black metal, but I consider this an atmospheric black metal project. They have another, I think, trilogy coming out soon. Not soon, I just mean they have a trilogy coming out, which probably we'll hear soon. At least part 1 of that trilogy. Yeah, right now, Aara, Eiger is at number 6 for me. Top 5 albums of 2024. Yeah, and a few of these in my top 5 were towards the back end of my top 10, but then the more I listened, they kept creeping up, and others fell, as you saw. So, number 5, Ripped to Shreds with Sanchi. This is 10 tracks, 41 minutes of music out on Relapse. This is Andrew Lee's project, but he has a full band, of course, and yeah. Fantastic death metal HM2 pedal, but you can make out every riff. The riff style pulls from all across the death metal spectrum and history, and even grindcore spectrum as well. You get Entombed, you get Morbid Angel to Internal Rot. I hear Revocation. An amazing riffy album with grindy, blasty sections. The melodies are also crazy. Early In Flames here in some of the melodies and solos. The solos are like classic metal shreddy solos. This is just fucking awesome album. Vocals, at Andrew at his most guttural sounds like Austin Haynes from Outer Heaven, or a more guttural David Davidson from Revocation. One of the other members also does vocals on here, so I like the trade-off. Very punky, very grindcore in that sense. Mixture of Autopsy and Asphyx in the vocals as well. Not the super high-pitched like Discordant Axis grindcore, but more of the punky grindcore vocals. So, favorite song, track 1 is amazing, but I remember the B-side's stellar, but I just love the sound, all the sounds on this album, really cool. It's a guitar heaven right here. So for fans of Undergang, Stenched, Dismember, grindcore, punky death metal like Autopsy, you're gonna love this one. Yeah, Dismember. I just said them twice now. Yeah, Ripped to Shreds, Sanchi. This is the 4th LP from Ripped to Shreds, and maybe their best. Yeah. Okay. Up next is, an album that just kept staying with me, and I am happy that I'm able to represent this band here in my top 5. I've seen it on a couple people's lists this high up, but you gotta give it to them. This is Necrot with Lifeless Birth. 7 tracks, 40 minutes on Tank Crimes. The band's been around since 2011. This is their 3rd LP. The band's from Oakland, California. 3-piece, Luca on bass and vocals, Sonny Reinhardt on guitars, and Chad Gailey on drums. So, can't really beat that combination. Standout tracks are all of them. Yeah. Necrot. So I see them live earlier this year as well, and it was one of my favorite death metal shows I've ever seen. This album, Lifeless Birth, captures them quite well. Captures their live energy quite well. Some people will be drawn towards their earlier releases because they're a bit more raw in terms of, mixing and mastering, I guess you want to call it. But love this record. It probably is my favorite Necrot record. People know the singles Cut the Core, Drill the Skull. Side B. That's when Side B locks this into my top 5. Winds of Hell, Dead Memories, and The Curse. Blackened death metal on these tracks. I like the atmosphere created by Sonny's tremolo riffs. Dead Memories has an amazing section that reminds me of my favorite Necrot song, Sinister Will, out on Mortal, their last album. Just love the lyrics. They're not cryptic at all. They're straightforward. They're just about the corruption in society, in politics, and in business. They're about how stupid all of us has begun. See what I mean? How stupid all of us have become because of constant strolling and just drilling our skull, drilling our brain with nonsense. Killer artwork once again, as always on Necrot albums. Yeah, so even though I said side B is amazing, all tracks are great. Superior, man, that rules. Drill the Skull, of course, is like a fucking professional wrestling walkout track, which for some people is why they're not going to like this one as much as their previous album. But it's all about the riffs. They stay in your head. They just crush. Necrot Lifeless Birth is my number 4 album of 2024. Okay. Number 3, another album that I got really early on in the year and stuck with me the entire time. Saw them live as well. Spectral Voice Sparagmos. Spectral Voice, they're out of Denver, 2012. They feature this features all the members of Blood Incantation except their drummer. The drummer here is also the vocalist. It is Eli, and he is the guitarist and vocalist of Black Curse as well, which you saw in my previous part 1 or part 2 of my top 40 albums of 2024. So this is Death Doom, but most Death Doom either sounds like, extremely 90s Doom or just like slow down death metal. This is almost its own genre to me. This sounds like death. The last song has these riffs that just sound like decay and just dying. And yeah, just love this album. First song, Be Cadaver, is amazing. This is like a meditation on just accepting reality for what it is at the end of the day, which is everybody was born to die, so to speak. So yeah, I just love this album. I can put it on all the time. I listen to it a lot. Not a lot of different ingredients in this as well, and that's why it's so impressive for just how it all comes together. Vocals sound like a more ghastly version of Absent and Body from a couple of years ago. Spectral Voice, love this album. This is my favorite Spectral Voice album. Catch them live. They're just they capture what they're trying to do here. Yeah, amazing album. So these 3 here, that is pretty close to a perfect album. I'm not sure what I would want to change on it. So that's pretty close to being perfect in my opinion. Up next, this also is an amazing album that moved forward. It was around the 10 point for a while. Number 2, Full of Hell, Coagulated Bliss. 12 tracks, 25 minutes, closed casket activities. This band has been around since 2009, so they're becoming a veteran band. Ocean City, Maryland, and PA make up the homes of where the members are from/live. You got Dylan on vocals, Sam on bass and saxophone and also vocals, Spencer on guitars and electronics, and David Bland on drums. Grindcore hardcore band that there was a moment where they were death grind, which is probably, Trumpeting Ecstasy is my favorite death grind album. This is more of where they started, mixed with some of their more noise rock influences like the Melvins, but also they're bringing more again of that industrial Godflesh sound as well. I hear Pig Destroyer throughout their catalog, but so I love what they did here. A bit more accessible, though it's not accessible music at all to anybody who doesn't listen to extreme music, but more melodic, more Converge. This is kind of Full of Hell meets Converge. Hard to pick a favorite track because this is so easy to listen to the entire album. This features a Ross Dolan from Immolation on here on the track 10, Gasping Dust. killer feature. That's basically close to a death grind song still. But yeah, I like the ups and downs. There's some more slower stuff, which calls to mind again their first and second albums. Full of Hell, Coagulated Bliss, kept creeping up. Love listening to it. Dylan is one of my favorite vocalists, and you can't have a vocal performance like this to me and not keep climbing my list. So yeah, number 2, Full of Hell, Coagulated Bliss. My number 1 album of 2024. It also clicked right away when I got it. I do recall previously their demo on their EP didn't hit me that hard, so I wasn't sure that I was going to love this the way that I ended up loving it. Favorite album of 2024, Slime Lord with Chytridio Mycosis Relinquished. This band is from London. Been around since 2019, but this is their debut full length psychedelic experimental death doom. This album is about like this fungus that infects. The name of it is based on a real fungus that is infecting frogs and amphibian species and populations worldwide. The disease has caused the decline or complete extinction of over 200 species of frogs and other amphibians. This pulls from some arcane philosophy, biology, science fiction, really cool backstory, which you get in the vinyl. Yeah, this is, I would say, Void Ceremony is probably who they most sound like, but there's also a lot of Gojira riffs on this album, in my opinion. So, Void Ceremony with Gojira, Lunar Chamber, 2 Mode, Spectral Voice, all that together, you're going to get this little bad boy right here. So yeah, if you get it on vinyl, you'll get the lyrics, but you also get the backstory of the theme and concept. Love it. I'll pick a favorite track just for the fun of it. Let's go with the first track on side B, which is called Batrachomorpha Resurrections Chamber. The last song, Heroic Demise, is a 5-minute instrumental. If I didn't say it before, this is 7 tracks, about 48 minutes of music out on $20 spin. Cool little inside there as well. Yeah. So this is my favorite trippy psychedelic album of 2024. Not what most people have been choosing, but yeah. This has been a fun year. And it was cool going through the list. It was a little bit harder because I don't necessarily have so again, Slime Lord is close, Full of Hell is close, Spectral Voice is close, but I ended up not having a 10 out of 10 this year, so it was up for grabs. It was fun going through them all. Most of them still stood their ground as being a great 2 amazing albums. Fun year. Excited for another year, 2025 coming right up. Thanks for watching. See you all in the comment section. Once again, I like interacting, so tell me your favorite albums. Tell me what albums you hated if you want to. Tell me what you're looking forward to in 2025. Thanks for watching. You all kick so much ass, and remember to stay heavy. Bye.